I'm here now because I've made a decision. And who knows, maybe in freaking 3 weeks from now, I'm not here. All right. But the thing is, I'm going to make decisions. When something happens, I'm going to make a decision. I'm not going to just sit there and just let life happen to me. I refuse to do that because it doesn't make any sense. I deserve better. I deserve to have the control, at least to be like people out there who are talking about, oh, the government can't make me do this. Government can't make me do that. But you sure as hell control yourself and put yourself in a box and don't allow yourself to grow. Like you don't give yourself freedom. Like you have to do things. You got to make actions. And that it's a lot more about action than it is about words. A lot more. And if you aren't doing that, then you've lost it. And you got to take a reset. And you got to say to yourself, hey, you know what? I'm willing to spend a couple $1,000s to get a freaking life coach because I'm not where I want to be right here. And who knows if it's supposed to be exactly what I thought it was even more. But if it's going to bring me value, then let me just go ahead and sign up for it. You know what? And if I lose a couple $1,000s off of it, you know what? I got a learning experience from it and I'm going to make that money back. I'm going to make that money back tenfold because I learned something from that. I'm investing in myself. If you invest in yourself, it's not a bad investment. If you're investing in yourself, it is not a bad investment because I count on me. Like I know that I'm going to win. No matter what, I'm going to win. I'll figure it out. I thank God for my ability to be able to be smart. I thank God for my ability to have a family. I thank God for my ability to be able to have my physical, well-being and whatnot. But regardless of what happens, I'm going to figure it out. Because that's a decision that I'm making every single day, that I'm not going to just stop. I'm not going to be submissive to an idea that this is not for me. I don't have imposter syndrome. I truly believe that I deserve to be where I am. Like everybody, I don't know if everybody does this, but I know that when I was growing up, I used to always hear the idea. If I want to get to where I want to go, then I've got to start thinking, doing, operating totally different than I'm actually doing right now. Like you were hoping that you were going to get to where you wanted to go without putting effort, investing in yourself. Like, what were you thinking? That's at that point, that's just a bullshit dream, right? You've got to set yourself up into a situation where you step into your greatness now. Not something where, hey, I'm going to try to get my systems together and then I'm going to do this. Right now, if you're in this group right now, you are surrounded by opportunities to invest in yourself. You are surrounded by them. You get opportunities to invest in your company, invest in your mindset, invest into your thinking, invest into all these other things, invest into things that are going to allow for you to be able to spend more time with your family. So you are surrounded by opportunities to invest. It's up to you to decide which investment you're going to take and so that it works for you. But pressure makes fucking diamonds. Yeah. Bro. Are we live, brother?
We're live, baby. Let's go.
Let's get it. So first and foremost, just welcome. We're live here on CGTV. I know that we got a lot of people coming from different areas, but welcome, guys. So today's going to be an awesome show, but this is the first installment of CGTV, so I think it's worthwhile. So I got my boy Mike. You can show yourself on the screen if you want to.
Guys, check this out. Producer Cam, we're out here, baby. Welcome to the first episode of CGTV. Chris, what are we talking about today?
Well, first and foremost, I want to find out, the topic is straight up conviction. All right, we'll go down the long path of exactly what conviction is and how it affects your sales process, how it affects your life. But I want to first ask the question, like, who's interested in making more money? In the comment box right now, just write the word committed if you're committed to making more money in your process. Okay? Do me also the favor, go ahead and put some dollar signs in there if you're committed to making more money through more sales. How are we feeling so far, Mike?
We're good.
All right.
We're good. Everything is up and running, and if it's cool with you.
All right, man. I just want to go ahead and go through it. So I'm going to walk you guys through a little bit of my history here at CGN. All right, so many people may know this, some people may not, but let me go ahead and walk through my history here at CGN. So I've been at CGN for about, 10, 11 months. So I started in October of last year. And if anybody knows about how I was when I first started here in October, they used to call me Mickey Mouse voice, all right? Because I had a very high-pitched voice. I honestly was just trying to read a script, trying to get good at sales. So right before this call, we did a little bit of quick numbers and write this stuff down for you guys. But since January of this year, I've been personally responsible for $1.3 million in sales. $1.3 million in sales. So it has come a long way in a short amount of time. So let's talk about that for a second. You know, the script we went over did not change. Our product, for the most part, has not changed. What has changed was my conviction surrounding our process. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you guys about conviction and why it's so important for you in your sales process. All right, give me a quick heat check. Mike, how's everybody doing so far?
Everyone is great. Anthony Pryor said committed. Eddie is committed. Nathan Kemper committed. Our own Allie committed. We're ready to go, baby. Let's go.
All right, let's get after it. So I'm going to go ahead and knock out these slides. You guys ready? All right, first and foremost, make sure you have this show notes. Make sure you have them printed out because we're going to go through this together. And I want you guys to actually make sure you get the value out of this. So one big thing we talked about was actually implementing and having people actually implement these things. So let's get straight into it. All right. So first and foremost, what is conviction? What is conviction? So right now in the chat box, when I say the word conviction, what comes to mind? Mike, for you, when I say the word conviction, what comes to mind?
Passionate. I mean, I'm cheating at the slides right now, but I think passion's the big thing. Do you actually believe in what you're saying, and to what level?
I love that. I love that. To what level you actually believe in what you're saying. Yep. So conviction is a strong and unwavering beliefs and or opinions, right? So the strong and unwavering beliefs and opinions. Okay? So right now I'll ask you guys this. Who thinks, actually, that's a better question. Who thinks you should charge for your time? And by that I mean, when you're going out to someone else's house, who feels like they should charge for their time? Is it something you have conviction behind, you feel very strongly about, there's nothing can change this? Or is it something that you feel, I'm not sure. You know, sometimes it's all right, sometimes it's not. Who feels like they should be charging for their time? Who has conviction surrounding this?
Maggie Brock says always. And then going back to your first question of what is conviction, Eddie said a belief in something. Nathan said no feel of failure. And then Luan said conviction is key to attracting money and talent.
I love all those. I love those. All right. So having conviction about something is super important. We could talk about, pineapple on pizza, chunky versus smooth peanut butter, sometimes it's religion, is there a God or not? Having conviction about these things. So an unwavering belief or opinion, all right? Also important to recognize that conviction is always with us. It's always with us, all right? It's omnipresent. It's not something that only shows up on sales calls or certain conversations. It's always within us, all right? Recognizing also, when you are challenged, you will protect your convictions at all cost. Why do we do that, Mike? Why do we protect these things that are so close to us at all cost? And why is it important to talk about that?
Because convictions are things that we feel so deeply in our soul that when somebody attacks us or tries to challenge us, our gut reaction is to go into straight defense and just try and protect and make sure that, we believe these things and no one's going to tell me otherwise.
That's 100% true. All right? When someone challenges your conviction, they're actually challenging your world. Let me say that again. When someone challenges your convictions, they're challenging your world. The world as we see it right now is being challenged. All right? Convictions, once again, will beat out any type of sales script, any type of word track. I know a lot of people here in the CSA, and we go forward with, learning different word tracks, learning different hey, I like when I use a label, or hey, I like when I go third party. Recognize that conviction will kill all of that. All right, it will beat out the best script. All right, do me a favor. Someone go ahead and say me if you've had a sales call with me before. If you've ever had a sales call with Chris, I no longer sell now. Right now, I'm only in the business of converting people from our Wealth Builder program to Legacy Maker, but I no longer actively sell. If you've had a call with me, go ahead and say me. Mike, let me know if we get some people saying me inside the comment box. If you've ever had a sales call with Chris Livingston, let me hear you say me.
Let's see, who just popped in? We got Jake San Miguel, Nathan Kemper. Who else? Maggie said like a role player selling to us.
Actually, I've actually had a sales call. I'm pretty sure with Maggie, at some point. But if you've ever had a sales call with me, go ahead and put me.
Luan as well.
Okay. I want you to go ahead and put exclamation marks if you have heard the conviction in my voice, the conviction in my being, the conviction in who I am, that I truly know that what I have to sell, the product that we provide, the services that we provide will actually change your life. If you could hear that conviction in my voice, in my being, go ahead and put exclamation marks under there. Because once again, it's not about a sales script. It's not about having certain word tracks. It's not about using, this label or, this redirect or reframing this or this cushioning statement. Conviction will kill any sales script.
We got Jake with exclamation points, Maggie, Shayla, Eddie said 100%. So, yeah. And even right now, when we're on this call right now, you can just hear the passion that you have around this subject.
All right. It's so important just to reiterate that. All right. I want you guys to think about that for a second. What is in your mind? What is in your being that you have conviction about? So I know, Mike, you have access to kind of do some stuff. I'm going to go a little bit off script right now. I want to talk about the 5 kind of layers that are within, someone's belief system. All right, the 5 layers within someone's belief system. All right, we'll start from the very beginning. We have ignorance. All right, starting with ignorance, then arrogance. All right, then neutrality. Then convincing, and then conviction. Do me a favor, put that on the screen for me?
Yeah, I can do that right now.
All right, so I got ignorance, arrogance, neutrality, convincing, and conviction. So let's go through those real quickly. So this is not necessarily on the paperwork, and I apologize, Mike, for going off script a little bit, but I think this is super important to talk about.
Chris, give me one more time.
All right. So we have ignorance, arrogance, neutrality, convincing, and conviction. You got that?
Yep.
All right. So this is not, I apologize once again for going off the script on this, but this is so important for you guys to understand this. All right. So we'll start out first with conviction. All right. Conviction is what we're going to be talking about today. It is that unwavering belief. Okay. Then you go to convincing. All right. I've got a brand new daughter. She's 2.5 months old. And I've heard different stories from different people. Who else has out there has kids and they've had to convince their children to eat their vegetables? Or who, maybe they don't have kids, who's had to convince a prospect of your value? You feel like you're, they say in the CSA, throwing up all over them. Who's had to convince somebody? All right? You have to have confidence in order to have conviction. But when you're convincing somebody, you don't necessarily have to have conviction. All right? So you can't have conviction without confidence, but you can have confidence without conviction. All right? So trying to convince somebody is the next realm. All right? So I'll ask you guys right now, when we talk about these, which one of these are bad? All right, so we think of like ignorance, we talk about just not knowing something, right? Arrogance is more along the lines of just thinking you're big and bad, but not really having anything to show for it. I candidly see this all the time in the Shinfu process when people learn about the Shinfu in the very beginning and they have this certain bit of arrogance that have already got it. You know, they're bigger than they actually are, and that actually hurts them. One thing that I think that we all fail to realize is neutrality is also pretty bad as well. Because if you're neutral in the situation, especially in your sales process, people are looking for you as the expert, and they're not looking for you to have some type of maybe this, maybe that. They want you to have conviction in your process. All right. So I know it's a little bit off script, but I appreciate your help on that. All right. I'm going to go back to conviction. All right. Conviction versus convincing. All right. Where does convincing come from?
Hey, Chris, before we go any further, do you want to pull the mic just a bit closer to you?
Yep, I got
Perfect.
that.
Even better.
Sound good?
Yep.
All right. Convincing versus conviction. All right. Where does convincing come from? All right. Convincing comes from, it has little weight. Convincing itself has very little weight. You're trying to convince somebody something. All right. It comes from a place of scarcity. Oh, well, if you don't do this, well, this will happen. All right? It comes from a place of inferiority. When you feel like you're inferior to the situation, when you're having to follow someone else's process, you're trying to convince them that your process is the right way to go. It also comes from insecurity as well. All right? Having to prove your value, your worth, or prove something to somebody. All right, who out there has felt like they've had to convince somebody at any point in their sales process? They've had to convince somebody. They've had to try to convince them of, paying at this certain time, or paying a certain price, or following a certain process, or knowing the actual value. See, I used to do the same thing. Trying to go on long tangents, these long buffered, paragraphs, trying to convince somebody that what I have to offer is better than others. All right? Conviction needs to be able to speak for itself. It does not need to be said. All right? Conviction needs to be able to speak for itself. It does not need to be said. Now, there are verbal ways to do it and nonverbal ways to do it, but it should be omnipresent. It should be part of you.
Chris, do you know what your version of conviction needs to be able to speak for itself is?
What would you say that is?
I think it's when you are on your sales call and you just so blatantly say, hey, this is going to change your life.
Yep.
Or write this date down and remember it.
I'm going to give you guys a quick story real quick. So there was somebody, I'm not going to mention any names. There was somebody that I spoke to in one of the other groups pretty recently. And we had a conversation back and forth. They were asking me about something. And they said to me that, they were considering us or a friend that they had. They had a friend, maybe a local friend that they had. And they were thinking about utilizing their local friend to go forward with their marketing and sales tool and website and all that stuff. And I said to them, if you go with that person, you would be hurting yourself. Like, you're not doing the best thing for you if you do that. And after talking to that person a little bit, they said that was a little bit off-putting that I said that because of the fact that it felt like it was coming from a place of trying to put down maybe their friend. I even said, hey, I love you guys in that conversation. Like, hey, I love you guys and I feel this way and I'm very passionate about it. And I think they said that was off-putting. To be straight up with you, I know for a fact, like conviction inside of me, I know for a fact that this will change your life. I know for a fact that in this space for home improvement contractors, there is no one better than who we are. So when I say that, I know it to be true. Like, I know it, like this deep down, every part of me, I know it to be true. So when I tell someone I'm going to change their life, or this system is going to change their life, this is not me saying this in a vein of trying to convince you that this is the best thing to do for it. I know this to be true. I mean, Lawan, Anthony Abbott, John Kelly, Derek Johnson, the list goes on and on and on of people were able to take care of that situation. Michael Gillio. So when I say that, Ryan Kelly, when I say that I'm going to change your life, I know that to be true. Frank Winter. When I say that, I have conviction behind it because I know it to be true. Logan Harrington. When I say that, Josh Gadboys. When I say that, I know it to be true. So that's the conviction that I have surrounding what I'm able to do. Now, it's important to understand where that conviction comes from. All right, where that conviction comes from. So I'm going to skip this a little bit. All right, recognizing that strong conviction is a magnet. Is a magnet. All right, I know we talk about being a money magnet sometimes. Bubba Hogan says it all the time. Talk about being a money magnet. All right, influential people tend to carry strong convictions. Influential people carry strong convictions. When I think of influential people, I think of, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Donald Trump, Barack Obama. Influential people carry strong convictions. And it's important to also know that these convictions can be used for good and or evil. All right? You're a magnet to somebody. Since the dawn of time, we've all fallen into either one or two categories. We've either been followers of people or a person that people follow. All right? We're all of those things. So we're either followers of people or people that people follow. So, like I said, it can be good for good and evil. Think of Stalin. Think of Hitler and those evil examples. All right? We're attracted to people with strong convictions. All right? So I want you guys right now to name someone in your space, name someone that you guys know that have strong convictions. I've already used a couple examples of, I think, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, but who has strong convictions in your space? And I'm going to talk to you guys why this is so important. You have to continue to remind yourself and be surrounded by those things that are going to allow for your conviction to remain what it is. All right? Here at CGN, we preach the idea of client wins. We preach it. All right, Mike, so I don't have to go on a long tangent. What is a client win?
A client win is how the person that you're servicing is benefiting from your product. So it's not in the terms of like, oh, we just sold a $500,000 remodel. Whoops, hang on one sec. Technical difficulties. Let's flip this. There we go. We're back. Okay. So a client, it's not in the sense of from us. It's not, oh, we just sold a $500,000 remodel. No, it's now this family has a space where their kids can do homework and they can have family and friends over to all hang out and not feel cramped in a little space. So it's not from the perspective of you, it's from the perspective of the person that you're aiming to serve.
All right. So, understanding the value of client wins and how it affects your conviction. All right, so let's actually go down to the 5 different levels of conviction. All right, we have 5 different levels of conviction. All right, the first level of conviction is yourself or the base level of conviction. All right, conviction in yourself. All right, that's how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your own perceived value, the value that you give to others. The reason why client wins are so important for our business are 1, so that we always love our people more than our product, but 2, to have conviction about what you're able to do in this world, like what your actual value is to people. All right. The second level of conviction is in your capabilities. All right. Conviction in your ability to be able to affect the world, to affect change. All right. Then third, conviction in your outcomes. What do you have control of in your outcomes? Do you have conviction surrounding that? All right. Fourth, conviction in your process. And then fifth, your conviction in how you benefit your prospects. All right. So if you look at this from one being the base of it all, and you build on top of that, it's so important to understand that you have to start with your base. You have to start with your base. All right? If you, and I'll talk to you guys right now, if you are not on a weekly basis reminding yourself of your own value, how you affect the world, if you're doing kitchens, how you're able to get people back time with their family. If you're doing outdoor living spaces, giving people a break from, the electronics inside, giving time for people to be able to bond together. If you're doing painting, being able to change people's moods by walking into a room. If you're doing foundation repair, being able to protect someone else's, most valuable asset for most people. If you're not consistently reminding yourself on a weekly basis, you are failing yourself. Because you have to have conviction in your base of who you are. All right? Building on top of that, that's going to allow for you to have conviction in your ability, in your capabilities, right? All right? I feel very, very confident. I have conviction in the capability of what I'm able to do for the prospect. All right? Then I have conviction in the overall outcome. I know that it's going to change their life. I know that it's going to change their life. Do you know that when you do a kitchen, that it's going to change someone else's life? And I challenge you to really believe in that, to really dive deep until you fully understand that. I know you said you had Maggie Brock on here. Like, when you guys provide water features, you guys are going to give people an opportunity to just have peace and calm that they were missing out on before working with you guys. All right? Having conviction in your process, and then having conviction and you're able to benefit your prospects. All right? So let's move on to that from that. All right? Increasing conviction in yourself. And how do you do this? All right? First and foremost, your habits. Recognizing that conviction is about, and you can write this down actually, not being forceful, all right? Not being forceful, but being a force. Conviction is not about being forceful, not trying to hard sell anybody, but being a force. It is part of you. It's omnipresent. Okay? So think about that. If it's part of you, if you can't shake this stuff, it occurs in your habits. What are you doing on a consistent basis? Are you celebrating client wins? Straight up, are you working out? Are you getting out of your own headspace? Are you waking up in the morning and having routines? Are you eating? All those things affect your ability to have conviction in your own self. You got to take care of your base first and foremost. All right? Your morning and evening routines. We got back from a conference in Denver, and one overarching thing I kept hearing was people saying them being a slave to their emails. All right, being a slave to your email. What do you have in your process that allows for you to be able to have a routine in the morning? Are you waking up every single day at the same time? Or are you varying that with hitting the snooze every once in a while? All right, are you working out when you should be working out? Are you eating right when you should be eating right? Your evening routine's on check. All right, so right now, my evening routine is very much, hey, 7 o'clock, start getting Olivia ready to get to bed. 7:45, she's taking a bath. 8 o'clock, she's feeding. 8:15, 8:30, we're putting her down. Having evening routines allows for you to have consistency and how that affects your conviction and how you're able to come present every single day, and recognizing that your word is bond. If I told people on a regular basis that I'm going to change their life and I was not able to fulfill on that promise, there's no way that I can have conviction in saying that. There's no way that I can have conviction going forward in saying that. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
When I hear specifically your word is your bond, do you actually know where I got that from?
So I know the phrase "word is bond."
Yeah, so that's an old Russian proverb or saying, and I actually got that from somebody who's had an impact on my life through conviction. But to me, that is something where it's like, if I have a thought or an action or a way that I think can develop my business to the next level, as soon as I have that thought, there is no, oh, I'll wait and I'll get after it tomorrow. No, we're going to start this right now. Because when you feel that and you have the emotion and the conviction behind it, why wait? So it's just as soon as it clicks, go after it.
When you talk about, I talk to so many people all the time. They say they feel like they have to have tough conversations with people because they've dropped the ball in some part of their process, right? So either materials, there's an issue with materials, they mess up on follow-up, things have changed, they have to have a tough conversation. Understand that when you have conviction surrounding these things and you understand that your word is your bond, is who you are, and you're able to have those tough conversations, that's going to allow for you to go much further. All right, so I'm gonna go to that next slide. All right, we talked about this a little bit already, but become obsessed with your client's success. Becoming obsessed with it. All right, that means that when you leave a job site, you're not just, okay, I built a kitchen, I'm going to the next one. Becoming obsessed with how they're able to utilize that space through follow-up. I talked to Suhaiba. She actually is a member of the Contractor Fight coaching team. I talked to her, and what they do is after they paint someone else's house, they wait several weeks and then get a professional photographer to come back into that space to actually take pictures. All right? In doing that, they're able to have conversation with them on a consistent basis after they've gone forward with them to be able to get obsessed with that person's success. What does it look like for your client to be successful? All right? Are you having follow-up calls? Are you going back and taking pictures after things have already been staged? Are you making a point in your morning meetings, in your weekly meetings? Are you even having weekly meetings to let your employees know what type of value you're bringing to your clients? All right? It goes beyond your daily tasks. All right? Go beyond your daily tasks. Not just, hey, doing some follow-up calls. Go above and beyond. Go above and beyond what you're doing. I make a point every single day to talk to some of our future clients, but also talk to some of our current clients right now, because I want to hear what's going on in the world. I want to be able to talk. I had a message the other day from Anthony Abbott, and he said, yep, you changed my life. Had a conversation really recently with Eli. He said, yep, you changed my life. Had a conversation recently with Connor and Everson from Perez Construction, and they're saying, yep, you changed the way we're doing things. Yep, you're changing our life. I have to have those conversations on a consistent basis so that I can remember and hone in on my own conviction. All right? And this last thing we talked about here is 100 benefits. This is an exercise that we did actually here on the CGN team, where we were tasked to write down as many benefits as we could of, I think at the time it was actually our Facebook group. What benefits do we have in our Facebook group? All right, we talked about giving people the opportunity to pre-qualify leads. We talked about the opportunities of, having fewer objections from homeowners, getting higher overall profits, right? But we dove way deeper than that. We recognized that this is the best Facebook group on earth when it comes to home improvement contractors. We also understood that it was a community that wasn't bogged down with just like people complaining about stuff and being, victims in certain situations. This is not the underdog group. All right? This is a group for top dogs, those who actually want to be winners. It gives people a great platform to be able to talk about what is actually going on in the world so they can go from level 7 in their business to level 10. All right? So we understood the benefits after benefit after benefit that was actually in our process. All right, I'm going to go back down real quick. So right now, when I look at how conviction factors into the sales process, all right, how does conviction actually factor into your sales process? I know right now we've gone a little bit about where that conviction comes from, the different levels and layers of conviction, going all the way from ignorance all the way to conviction. But how does this actually affect your sales process? All right, people make decisions based on their convictions. People make decisions based on their convictions. All right, I had a conversation this weekend with a guy by the name of Tyson. And Tyson felt very strongly about if he should go forward with our system first or if he should figure some other stuff out first. And he felt very strongly about it. And I understood that my conviction will kill his doubt. All right? My conviction would kill his doubt. All right? Other things people are based on their conviction is timing. All right, when you should do things at certain times. Should I do this first or should I do this first? Should we take that trip to Disney World first or should we get our kitchen painted first? Should we go out on this family vacation first or should we get this outdoor living space? All right, they have conviction based on the timing that should happen. All right, the mission and the purpose. They have conviction surrounding, like why they're getting something done. Why that's actually happening. People have convictions on the market. Oh, well, right now, people talk about labor shortages. Oh, the market just sucks. There's not anybody willing to work for us right now. Limitations the same way. I can't do this. I can't charge 50% gross profit margins. That's not possible in my area. People have convictions surrounding all these things, their own capabilities. I'm not able to produce this. They have conviction in themselves. All right. That goes down to identity, who you believe you are. All right. That conviction in yourself is who you believe you are. If you're a person out there who has to decide between, paying and investing in their company and paying payroll, and you believe that's who you are right now because you feel like that's your reality, you have certain convictions surrounding that. All right. Also conviction in those certain problems, labor shortages, material shortages. There's problems in the market. All right. We make decisions based off of those convictions that we have. All right. Let's get to it. Mike, how you feeling so far?
We're good, baby. It's been great. I think it's gone really well. And you know this stuff, man. Like, just being able to see all this come together, to be honest, if I may boast for a second, we've been planning this for what? 4, 5, 6 weeks. So keep crushing it. We're on a roll.
All right. So let's talk about the walls around your convictions. All right. The walls around your convictions. So how does actually this relate to sales? All right. How do we decrease the conviction in others? All right. Let's talk about this. When we challenge someone, their convictions are raised. All right, so let me say that again. When we challenge someone, their convictions are raised. When I tell someone, and you think, very strongly about the idea of, not charging going to people's houses, and I challenge that idea, and I simply just ask, why not? They're going to start to double down on this thought. Well, this can't happen, and this can't happen, and this doesn't happen. So recognize that when you challenge someone with their conviction, that they build up walls. Now, how do we overcome those walls? All right, those walls are lowered when they're questioned. All right, when we question somebody, those walls are lowered. So let's talk about that for a second. If you've ever had a conversation with me, I do my damnedest not to argue with anybody, because if I argue with us about something, you're going to double down on the way you feel about something. But I can simply say, just curious, what makes you think that? Or just curious, would you also consider this? when you question something, people are able to let down their walls. So instead of using why questions, this is huge in the sales game. All right? Recognizing that why is a cornering or a wall raising question. All right? Why do you charge to come out? Why aren't you on the CGN team? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? That's going to heighten people's walls. But instead, I can ask questions about, hey, how are you hoping we could help? How are you hoping things will be different in your home that they are different over the phone? All right. What's your thoughts on joining the CGN team? All right. One thing that happens in that whole why scenario, if you have a hard time not asking those why questions, it's very easily done by asking simply, how come? All right. If you're having a hard time getting over asking those why questions, those questions that are actually raising people's walls, being able to simply ask, how come, is huge. All right. Tactics to decrease conviction in others. All right. What tactics can we use to decrease the conviction in others? All right. Of these, Mike, what's your favorite? I'm going to go through all of these real quickly, but what's your favorite of all these ways to actually decrease the conviction in others?
I only speak in metaphors and analogies, so without a doubt, that one.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that was Logan's favorite as well. Logan's very, very big on that as well. All right, so let me go through this really quickly so you guys have a full understanding of how to actually decrease people's conviction in others. All right. One, we just talked about a little bit, questioning. Just curious, what makes you say that? Being able to question things is going to lower their conviction. All right. Also utilizing metaphors. All right. The one metaphor that I use all the time is a truck metaphor. All right. Because I talk to contractors, most often than not, their favorite thing or something that can be related on is having a truck. So if I say to somebody, hey, I've got conviction surrounding the idea that we all buy from emotion. And someone says, oh, I don't think we necessarily all buy from emotion. And I say, well, no, we all buy from emotion. We buy emotionally and we justify logically. And they don't have that same belief in them. I'm able to utilize a metaphor by saying, okay, great. Do you have a truck? And I'll say, yep, I sure do. So, okay, for your truck, for what it does, get you from point A to point B, carrying stuff, is there a truck out there that costs less than your truck? That can get you from point A to point B and things like that? They'll say, yeah, there's a truck out there that's less expensive than my truck. And I say, okay, well, is it fair to say that you didn't buy that truck off of numbers? There was an emotional reason behind it. Maybe it was reliability. Maybe it was the status of the truck. But I'm able to use that metaphor to decrease the conviction that they have in them situation. All right. Also stories. We all love stories. It's so much easier to remember a story. All right. I heard Logan say this the other day, but he was talking about, I know all about, D-Day and World War II and things like that. But we can all think of the intro to Saving Private Ryan, but sometimes we lose the facts of what exact day was D-Day. All right, it's June 6th. I know that because, 2nd Ranger Battalion stormed, the cliffs of Pointe du Hoc and Omaha Beach and things like that. But we forget those facts, but the stories allow us to remember those things, and those stories can allow for us to actually decrease the conviction of somebody else. All right?
Chris, hang on. You were just in Denver for the contractor fight event. Of all the guest speakers, I'm going to bet my life that 80 to 90% of them all shared at least one story.
100%. And that's how you're able to remember them. All right? Tom talks oftentimes about how he was the kid, riding the short bus. Suave talked about how she's from Philadelphia. We had, James Allen there who talked about, his time working with, one of the, SEAL teams. Logan talked about how he was able to, work with his dad and things like that. So we all told stories so that we would be able to show one, that conviction, but also decrease someone else's conviction. Recognizing that my conviction will kill someone else's doubt. All right. Also humor. All right. Being able to have funny stories. Giving examples of certain things. All right. My favorite on this list is actually silence. This is one thing that we don't use enough in our sales process. Some people call it STFU, but it's the value of having silence on your calls.
I see what you're doing right now.
Yep, just like that. The value of having silence on your calls. All right. Let's talk about posture shifting. All right. Inferiority, equal, and superior. All right. On your call, you have the ability to go from all these different postures, how you're feeling, how you're presenting yourself in this way. All right. Sometimes, let's start with the superior first and foremost. Sometimes when I'm having a conversation with somebody and they don't really understand their own value, right? If I ask them, hey, what's the deepest level value that you provide? They say something along the lines of, oh, we provide, quality service and, quality product and good customer service. And I understand they don't really understand their own value. I'll say something along the lines of, hey, we do a little bit of coaching here. Is it okay if I coach you on something? All right. I'm going to speak at that point from a point of superiority. All right. To be able to give them that conviction from that situation. All right. I'm posturing myself there. All right. Oftentimes, most often than not, I'm actually on that equal playing field when I'm asking questions of, okay, so what's your revenue right now this year? All right. What's the revenue goal? All right. Where are you guys at so far? All right. We're on the same playing field when we're asking these questions back and forth. All right. I do believe that being around equal or inferior most often is going to bode well for you, because if you have a superior situation at all times where you're just hogging the conversation, just trying to bulldoze someone, that is not how you effectively sell. All right. For me, sales is just straight up diagnosis. Diagnosing someone else's problem and giving them the way to be able to solve that problem, giving them a solution to that. All right. That's what sales is. There are some times in your guys' own space when you have to be able to be superior in that situation. We need to be the expert. All right. But if you are posturing yourself as a superior situation all the time, you're hurting yourself. All right. Who out there has had a sales call with somebody where the person just talks and talks and talks? It talks about how great they are, how great the product is, but has never listened at all to you and your concerns, or give you the opportunity to even talk about them. Who's ever had that situation? All right. On the chat box, say me if you had a situation out there where you've had someone just talk and talk and talk about how great they were, and then allow for you to actually be able to talk about what concerns you actually had.
Jake San Miguel said, yep, all too frequently.
All right. So in that same situation, Jake, recognize that when someone has that superior situation, it does not feel good for us if it happens all the time. Now, is it possible for us to be able to posture ourselves in that way? Yes. There's value in doing it. All right. Jake, you should be the expert in what you do. So sometimes asking, hey, what I'm hearing right now is this. Is it okay if I coach you on this? I come from a place of superiority, but I want to get back down to that, equal most often. All right, let's go down to the next one. All right, the flow of conviction. All right, how do I get into the flow? All right, who here has had a situation where they've been on their game? I'm talking about they're doing the right stuff. They have conversations with people. They feel like they can't lose. If they're on sales calls, they're going throughout their day. They feel like they can't lose. They consistently have sale after sale after sale. They're having a good situation. Who has felt like they're in their flow? Who's been in their flow? Who knows what I'm talking about when I say being in your flow? For me, the flow happened most recently, and I think February of this year. All right. Around that time is when I was doing a lot of the setting and Logan was actually doing the closing. So we have two different positions: a setter, someone who's out there talking to you. So if you got to talk to Kevin, Brian, Tyler, Sean. Those guys are really good setters, but they're having, I was in that setter position. All right. And Logan was acting as what we call the advisor, or actually having the closing call. So if anything, maybe I'm that person who's pre-qualifying, and Logan's actually doing the selling himself. So there was a time in which we sold 14 people I talked to, 14 people straight actually went forward with our package. It was in a matter of probably about a 2-week period, and I was in a flow. All right. I legitimately, there's nothing that could stop me. All right. If you're getting those flows, did anybody say they're in the flow? They've had a flow before? Mike?
Say that again?
Did anybody on the comments say they've been in the flow before? They know what I'm talking about when I say flow?
Tyler.
Okay, nice. All right. So when you're in that flow, it's so important to understand why you're in that flow and maybe even write it down. All right. What things are you currently doing? What habits or routines are you currently doing? All right. How are you feeling about certain things? All right. What conversations are you having? What words are you saying? All right. Do you feel empowered about certain things? What things are making you feeling disempowered? All right. Do you feel empowered by the fact of changing people's lives? Do you feel empowered by the fact of, what your process is? All right. And where's your focus? Is your focus inward on who you are? Is your focus inward on who you are, on what you provide to the world? Or is it focused externally on what you're able to provide to others? Where's that coming from? All right. What's your risk? Are you being ambitious in your calls? Are you saying things like, okay, great. The next step is secure your spot on the calendar. It's just a $3,500 deposit towards your job. Do you feel good being able to have those conversations to get people to pay, consultation fees or design fees, or go forward to the next step and go out there and spend $1,500, $500, $3,500 on a consultation? All right. That risk, are you putting that out there for yourself? All right. Are you reacting? Are you responding? Do you find yourself on those calls speaking more, or are you listening more? Are you reacting to their motive? All right. How are you actually responding? All right. What stories are you telling yourself? That's huge. What stories are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself on a consistent basis of your own value? Are you a person out there that has conviction? Hey, you know what? I know that in the CSA, and I think they've stopped a little bit, but in the CSA, actually, let's call it the Shinfu Mastermind. I think they've actually changed their name. But in the Shinfu Mastermind, there was a time, and I think it's actually probably going to start back up pretty soon. There was a time in which people were talking about affirmations to themselves. I'm a money magnet. I'm a person who creates a legacy for my family. I'm a good father. I'm a good mother. What stories are you telling yourself on a consistent basis that allows for you to have that conviction in who you are in your sales process? All right. I know we're focusing this up on sales, but understand that this is all part of you. Okay. I hate the idea of someone thinking that sales is just certain parts of the day. If you're doing that, then you have a lot to learn about what selling is. All right. Sales should not just be when you're on the phone call with somebody and you're trying to sell someone something, because that is where you get the icky, nasty feeling surrounding sales. Sales should be something that is, you understand what zone of genius that you have. You are curious to find out what someone else's situation is, what problem they're facing, and you understand that your zone of genius, if it does overlap, then you are the best person for that job, and having conviction about that is huge. All right. So what stories are you telling yourself? All right. This is a problem right now that I've dealt with before. All right. How you're able to actually maintain your conviction. So hey, Mike, with you being on the team, when you go through all this stuff and you have conviction about your mission, your job, exactly what you do, how do you actually maintain your own conviction?
So I think what helps is that Aaron and I are this dynamic duo for the media team. Just being able for us to walk in every morning with each other and just if one person's down, even just a little bit, the other person is there to provide the energy, which has been incredible just to have somebody, because I've never been in a situation creatively where I've worked one-on-one with another person. It's always been me, and it's always been on my shoulders. So to just be able to walk in, and you guys know the vibe of this media room if you've ever been in here, Allie, Melissa, you, Logan, it's a party. People just walk into our room so much that we started tallying on the board the amount of times that Allie, Laura, or Turner walk in. So just having that and controlling your environment in a way to where no matter where you look and go, the conviction is always around us. The core value sign is literally in the media room and not outside the office. The sign to my left right now is Mamba mentality, and then we have another one that says if if time is money, then doing nothing is expensive. So it's just surrounded everywhere we go, and it's ingrained in the culture here at CGN. So losing conviction really isn't a big deal because it just doesn't happen.
Let's talk about how we can actually maintain that conviction. All right. So when we get into these good flows, all right, how we're actually able to maintain this conviction. All right. First and foremost, review your notes. All right. You should be calling people, taking down notes, and reviewing what you're saying. For me, there was a time and point where I was having a little funk in my sales situation, and I had to go back and listen to my old calls, review my old notes, and to be able to step back into what gave me that conviction. Because I knew that if I had a conviction surrounding myself, and it's not coming from a bad place, because what I know deep down is that our system is the best thing for contractors. I know that it is. There's legitimately nothing on earth that is going to help them the same way that our system does. And I know that that's the case. All right. Knowing that, then I now have to have conviction surrounding that so that I'm allowing people to choose the best option for themselves. The best option for themselves. Because oftentimes, more often than not, going into this, it's a scary situation. It's a scary situation. So I had to go back and actually review what notes I was taking, what things was I actually saying on the call. All right? That allowed me to be able to do that. Talk about the validation a little bit. Validation is something that we all say, oh, I don't need validation, because it doesn't feel great to feel like you need validation. I'm going to give you guys a quick story. So in that same vein of me talking to someone in one of the other groups and telling that person, hey, I love you, and if you go forward with your friend, you're actually going to do stuff to hurt yourself. When they said to me, hey, what you said was a little off-putting, it didn't feel great to hear that, right? It didn't feel great to actually hear someone else tell me that I was off-putting. And then they actually mentioned the fact that, hey, you said I love you, and I said, hey, I love you guys. I want you guys to do the best thing for yourself, and that's how I truly feel. When they said that part was off-putting, it kind of brought me down a level. All right, it didn't feel good to hear that. All right, so that happened, I think, Friday of 2 weeks ago / Monday of last week. On Wednesday of this week, we had at our conference, there was a time in which we were actually doing takeaways, right? So we all talked on the different conferences, and different speakers talked at the conference, and people got up to actually speak about their takeaways. Now, there was a person by the name of Bernie that actually stood up, and me and Bernie have had a cool relationship, but maybe about 9 months ago, Bernie and I hopped on a sales call, and I knew something was off, so I said to him, hey, Bernie, this can't be a sales call anymore. Let's talk about what's actually going on in your life. What's going on? And from that sales call, Bernie went into rehab. All right, Bernie went to rehab because he knew, I told him straight up, we did an RPM, we'll talk about this at a later time, but we did a action report to find out what's the best thing for him. And I knew that it was not, my goal in sales is do the best thing for the client. And I knew that having a sales call was not the best thing for him at that time. So when he was able to stand up and talk about, hey, Chris, you actually affected my life more than you ever know. You got me into rehab. That's when I realized that, you know what? I have validation from that. So when I tell someone, hey, I care about you guys, and that choosing another route is actually not best for you, I can have the conviction surrounding that. All right? You will have an amplified impact when you are the best version of yourself. This weekend, we talked about income, independence, and how both of those things were married together because we overarching want impact. All right? Talking to Everson. Everson is in San Francisco, and he's responsible for about 25 different families in the San Francisco area, and he wants to be able to uplift the Hispanic community. I talked to John Kelly, who hopped on a hot air balloon this week, overcoming his fears and doing the best thing for his family going forward. Here, we realize our end user is actually our clients' kids because we want to be able to make sure that they have a situation where they're able to give freedom by not going out to people's houses, being able to attract higher end clients, having financial stability. Like, we recognize the impact we're able to have. So understanding our conviction allows for that to happen. All right. All right. And lastly, how we communicate conviction. All right. How we communicate conviction. All right. The verbal ways. All right. The verbal ways are tonality. How the tonality of my voice is able to change this way versus when I'm talking the way I normally talk, which is at this high energy level. So when I'm able to say to someone, hey, man, just curious, what makes you think that? What makes you think that you have to keep driving up to people's houses and not actually just, selling from over the phone? All right, your cadence. When someone asks a question or someone's answering your question, be able to have that cadence. Hey, so what's your revenue goal? Okay, just curious, just why? Why that? All right, how are you guys doing so far on that revenue goal? All right, what's stopping you guys right now? Having that cadence, matching their cadence, if it's slow and methodical, or if it's high up tempo, be able to match that cadence. All right, your voice. I can't at all times give my natural voice, which is this, hey, I'm talking to you. Do you feel it in your soul voice? Sometimes I have to be a lot more reserved because I recognize that I care. And me caring, coming from an aggressive tone, does not always bode well. It does not actually show the conviction that I have in my system. All right, brevity. This is one of the ones that I probably have the worst part with. Teaching our team, have the worst part sometimes on this. But be brief. All right, you guys probably already know this, but the person talking the most on the call is oftentimes the person losing. All right, you should be talking about 20 to 30% on the call. Your prospect, your client, should be talking about 70%. The reason because of that is because I can't find out what's valuable to them if I'm simply just talking the entire time. Similar to that, I should be making statements probably 30% of the time. I should be asking questions about 70% of the time. All right? And then your lightness on the call, not being so aggressive all the time. All right? The nonverbal ways, your energy. All right? Who wants to buy something from someone who is not excited? Yeah, I'm just, it's $12,800 to go forward with our CGN package. All right? Also, your posture. All right? Most oftentimes, when you're out there in front of somebody, you're able to give them the posture that you actually want. But I will tell you right now that for me, when I'm on a sales call, I'm walking around, I'm there, I'm present. My body language is showing. All right, we talked a little bit about brevity, but also understand that there's pauses as well. You deserve to be great. And you are more than just this, more than just that. Being able to pause. And lastly, facial expressions. All right, Mike, I know we're coming up on this one around 7:05 today, but how you feeling?
You crushed it. which to be expected. You've done this once or twice, I think. How did you think this went?
I mean, I feel good, man, because I have conviction surrounding this stuff. I love the fact that we're able to now have the production we're able to have, but straight up, this is the basis of everything. All right, these are the, this is step 1 through 3, step 1 through 3, step 1 through 3. Like recognizing that the next step is very much getting in part of our system. But I think it's so important to speak out there to people who need this guidance in this way. All right, so I have conviction surrounding this stuff, but understand that conviction surrounding your sales process is going to allow for you to be a lot more effective. So many people I talk to talk about, oh, I now have the confidence to charge this. Like, that's huge. If you are beating yourself over your own prices because your clients are doing it, how are you able to change that around so you have conviction in your sales process? All right. So if your identity has not changed thus far, let's talk about that right now. 1, charge your worth. Charge your worth. All right. 2, have a sales process. Have a process that's actually written out and deliberate. All right. We all have a process. Sometimes it changes every single time, but you need to have a process that you are deliberate about and you stand firm behind it and you know that it's the best thing for you and the best thing for your customer. All right. Know your value. All right. I know it's already 7:06, man. How you want to end this one?
Right now, if somebody's watching this and they aren't already on board in some way.
And what do you mean by on board?
Let's go bold. Let's go they're not on Wealth Builder. They're not on Wealth Builder
So they're
quite yet.
They're not a CGN client.
They're not, correct. Not a CGN client, not on Wealth Builder, definitely not on Legacy Maker. What's your one conviction point to get them on right now?
I'm not going to convince them, but I'm going to straight up just have conviction and say this. I know that this will change your life. Driving up to people's houses that are not going to be your client is a dead situation. Not having a brand that actually shows the value that you are is a dead situation. Not having a repeatable process that allows for you to be able to actually attract clients is a dead situation. If you're not picking and choosing your clients at this point, you have to think about to yourself, do you believe that's actually possible? Do you believe in yourself? Are you going to consistently be an underdog in this fight? Or are you willing to take the necessary steps to be a top dog here today? All right, so the reality is the choice is yours, and it is a choice. Profitability, the brand that you're seeking to have, actually running a business that actually knows its numbers. When I ask you, what's your revenue at for this year? What margins are you at for this year? To actually know that, that's actually a choice to know that. All right, so start being a business owner and do the things that business owners do.